Welcome to another episode of Reef Keeping. What's up, guys? It's been a long time. It's been 2 weeks. I know I got a little sick last week. I was supposed to upload a video, but then I caught a little flu and then I had to go to the doctor and had some antibiotics and just sat at home and drank water and slept like a baby. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing good. I see you guys have some nice updates in your tank. Look at that nice light fixture you just updated. That's cool. Is that a new skimmer? I see that skimmer. And is that a new fish? All right. That's great. I hope you guys had a great week. I'm doing great. A lot better than how I was last week when I was feeling under the weather. Look how nice it is outside right now. I really need to film this real quick so I can go outside and enjoy the weather. My neighbors are all walking around enjoying the sun, you know, because it's been like, for some reason, raining every day this week. So like right now is like the perfect time for me to go outside and to get my vitamin D in. So everyone's gonna be out there chilling while I'm in here in my room filming for all you reef geeks. So hope you guys appreciate it and thank you for returning. Today, it's gonna be a long one. You're gonna wanna take a beer, you're gonna take, get a snack, get some food, sit down because this is gonna be a longer than usual video because last week I didn't get to film. 2 weeks, a lot has happened, a lot, ups and downs. So this main video is going to be about reef tank failures with electronics or whatever that you're running in your tank. So let's get into it. I hope you got your drink. So we're gonna start right now. Last week on Wednesday, when I got home, I realized that my lights were off. And I was wondering what's going on. So I ran to my computer real quick. Went online, checked my IP, and found out that my Apex light, the Neptune Apex light, was experienced a electrical failure. This is the first time I ever had this happen. Well, to this point, I had it happen before where it just came back on and started working, but for some reason this time my screen was stuck on a blue mode. It was all just, the display was just all blue and nothing else, and my program, some of it was running, like my temperature and my power head was running, but my light did not run. So I freaked out, ran to my storage and grabbed my backup unit, which is the Reef Keeper light. So this is what I kept in the back, and actually I was pretty lucky to have this still because I was posting it for sale on Craigslist, and thankfully no one wanted to buy it because then if they bought it I wouldn't have anything to use as a backup controller. Anyways, that happened, so I went on there after I set up my controller, got the program running and everything. I went online to Google this problem. I Googled it, and a lot of people were saying that, oh yeah, here's the old unit right here. A lot of people were saying that all you need to do is reinitialize the memory and reinstall the firmware. I did that with no luck. So then I contacted Apex's Neptune's system support customer service. And this is gonna be a little bit rant, a little bit review about their customer service. This is like the third time I ever had to contact them before, and every time they're very prompt at answering back. Sometimes their solutions doesn't make sense, and this is one of the moments that I'm going to talk about it. So now I got three controllers, my old controller right here, my Reef Keeper light, and my new one, and we'll get to that in a second right now. So I couldn't get this to work. I tried the troubleshoot method, and 2 days later they were able to get someone to remote into my computer, and I gotta say the experience was not pleasant. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me. It may be for someone else, but I'll tell you how it went. So I submitted a ticket and I said, hey, my screen is blue, my base module is solid green, which means it was working, or else it'd be like, I think, orange or something like that. So the guy remotes into my computer and he tells me differently. He tells me this module was broken and that it needed to be flashed in order for my display to work. And he told me that the display's purpose was only to display information. It had no other computing functions to it other than to display the information that the base module, this is the CPU, this is the brain if you will. This is the brain for the computer. He was telling me that this is not correctly configured and it needed to be, the firmware needed to be reinitialized and things like that. So I was like, okay, I don't know your product as well as you do, so I thought, I trust him. So he goes and flashes it, and after 5 minutes of trying to flash this no longer stays on solid green. It goes orange. So I was like, well, what's going on here, And my screen was still solid blue. The same original problem before, but now, at least before, it was solid blue on my screen and this was solid green. And now I have a solid blue screen with a blimping orange light. So that got me really worried because I put my hands and I put trust in the customer service technician. So anyways, let's continue with the story, right? So I found out that now this is bricked. Then he comes and tells me, after I tell him, I said, hey, now this is orange, but the display is still solid blue. Then he goes and tells me, well, now we need to flash the firmware on your display. And I'm going, there's a firmware on here? Because you just told me that this only purpose of it is to display the information from the brain module. So I said, heck, why not? You know your product. I don't know my product. I don't know how your product works and things like that. So I trust him with it. After 10 minutes of trying to initialize the firmware, reinstall it, and finally, 10 minutes later, we were successful with getting it installed. And unfortunately, when it was installed, now this screen won't turn on at all. It won't even light up. So now not only do I have a screen that is dead, but now I have a base module that's dead. So that was not a pleasant experience because prior to this, all I had was a blue solid screen and a green solid light, and that was my issue. But when I contacted them for support and they remote in, it actually got worse. This is now blinking orange, and this no longer works. So after all that time, about an hour or so on the desktop for letting them remote into my computer and doing all these things, I get an email later the next day, or within an hour or so. I believe it was an hour or so. And I get an email that says, hey, since we couldn't fix your Apex and since we don't support this base module anymore, we have a coupon for you. This originally is $300 something, but the coupon's for $290 something, I forgot. And then the email goes to say, well, since we tried to troubleshoot this and it didn't work, you can send this with an RMA and pay $90 to have it looked at by our technicians in California. So I'm like, what's the deal with this? Like, you're supposed to support me. You're not supposed to try to make a sale from me. So I was upset in that aspect because it seemed to me like they bricked it just so they can make the extra money to upgrade this unit and now send this in. And here's the interesting part. It tells me that this, you send it in for $90. It's not guaranteed that it will work when they send it back to you. It's only for them to troubleshoot. So I was very, very upset about the whole experience. And I went to email them and told them, to have a supervisor or manager contact me back just to talk about the experience. And John, one of their person, got back to me. And of course he backed up his technician and things like that because, he's a part of the company, so he wants to assure that his technicians did the right thing. So with my experience with them, I did not have a pleasant one. And I recommended to John, I said, next time if you're gonna troubleshoot this, at least let the customer know ahead of time that in the attempt to recover this and to get it to work, at least let them know that you may brick their product. Because if I would have known that, I wouldn't have even contacted support. I would have, just tried to do it myself. This was still good. It was still green, and now it's, blimping orange. This was still working. It was at least a solid turn on screen blue, and now it's dead. And I haven't plugged this in yet to my new unit, but I'm assuming this still works. So hopefully this works. I hope they didn't flash anything else that I didn't know about. But I was watching my terminal on my Mac as he was doing it. A lot of cache dumps and reinstall and all that stuff, all that geeky stuff. So that was my experience with Apex Neptune system. wasn't a very positive experience, and I've had a friend that also had a bad experience with them. You know, and she basically was updating a firmware, and they were online doing the update for her, and they were remoting in, and they bricked her unit as well. So I mean, just a company that, you know, I wish the company took responsibility, wish that they communicated that there are potentials of things being brick if, you know, if the support doesn't go well. But ultimately, you know, like, they shouldn't try to sell you a product after they broke your product. I mean, for me, it was a bad way to support people. You know, I've worked in the customer service industry before, but it just seemed like they could care less. And so that was my 2 cents. But who knows? Maybe they're still a good company. Let me know your experience. I've heard good experiences before, and this is not to say that you shouldn't buy their product or anything like that. But from my personal experience, I probably won't be buying their product anymore. So I might be going somewhere else. But for right now, I got a Reef Keeper Lite. This works fine. But here's the cool story, the cool outcome of this whole event. Even though it did have a failure, I did not experience any major loss in the tank. So thank God, you know, thankfully, you know, there was something in the Reef Geek God working, looking over my tank and protecting my corals. I did, however, have some RTN, like a couple corals here and there. And this is why I stress the importance of, you know, fragging. At least if you have a big colony, frag it down and put it somewhere else, because if it RTNs over here, there's a likelihood that, you know, it's a very rare chance that it's gonna RTN at 2 spots on the same coral. So that's why, you know, I say if you have the availability and the, you know, space, then frag out your corals. Even, you know, frag it, give it to a friend, and they can watch it for you. So you can always retrieve your coral just in case if you experience some loss. All right, and the next thing that I would suggest is this. I bought this thermostat, this interior thermometer. That's a hard word to say. It's got this magnet thing, which is pretty cool. And it tells you the temperature inside. Before I didn't have this, I was running around when I got home, and I was like frantically looking for one to put in the tank to know what the temperature is, just to make sure everything was stable. But you know, it's good now that I bought one, and this was only $4, and it was from a local store, so that's pretty cool. I definitely recommend getting one of those. And then I'll tell you the story with this. So when I had this issue, I had a Reef Keeper Lite running, and I went online. I posted that, you know, hey, my my Apex Neptune, you know, was bricked, and now I need another Neptune Apex Lite. And a friend and a person that I've known on the forum reached out to me and told me they called me on a Saturday or Sunday. It was unexpected. They're like, hey, I'm getting out of the hobby. I got an Apex Lite. Do you want it for $80? And I was like, I thought this was a joke, because this unit alone, the base unit is $300 something. This is another $100, and this is like another $100. So it's like easily sells for $500, right? So I was like, this has got to be a joke. Why is he selling for $80? You know, so I told him, I said, you know, if you bring it over and we can just plug in some, you know, light bulbs and things like that, just to make sure that the controller actually works, I'll give you it. I'll buy it from you. So he brought it over, and so I lucked out. I got a controller, an Apex Lite for $80, which is really unheard of. I'm still in shock and in disbelief. And the cool thing is that I have the new base module, which is, you can see the decal is orange and white, and the new EB8 bar. So, you know, the outcome of this wasn't so bad. The experience with customer service wasn't that great. However, they were prompt to getting back to me, so there's some plus and minuses. And then I did another thing, is I invested in this, and I should have had one of these. So I learned from this. I bought a backup battery, just in case if it does happen again. In my years of being in the hobby for 2-3 years, at least in my area that I live in, it's a very rare occurrence that we do get power outages. But when we do, now I got a battery backup. So there's some food for thought for you guys who are, you know, worried that this may happen to you as well. Definitely have a backup controller, and don't try to sell it on Craigslist like I did, because I was lucky that it didn't sell and I had a backup one. Invest in a backup battery. Invest in some old school devices to tell your temperature, thermometer, thermostat, thermometer. I don't know. I can't say that word for some reason. It must be the Asian me. I can't say thermometer. That's gonna be my new thing. I'm gonna learn how to say that. Anyways, everything is good. I can't complain. Yeah, I didn't lose any fish. And actually, I have this laying around too. So maybe you wanna invest in one of these. These are like the internal tank digital temperature devices. So that's nice to have. So now I have 2 sources to read my temperature from. And yeah, everything else is cool. My skimmer still works. My fans still work. Temperature's a little bit hot right now, but can't complain. This experience really taught me to be really careful about backing up and being, invest more time in experiencing, in trying to explore options to overcome failures such as power outages and things like that. So, if you have time on the weekend, sit around and try to see and try to do the math and try to plan, because I didn't have a plan. I was fortunate enough to have the things around to make that happen, such as the backup controller. But yeah, if you don't have a plan, you may lose the whole tank, and that's the unfortunate part. So I was lucky. I gotta admit, I was lucky, because if I lose this tank, I probably would not go into the hobby anymore, because I have way too many corals, and it was just, yeah, it would be a downer. Anyways, thanks for watching. It's nice outside. I'm gonna go run. Come join me. Let's go and run like 5 miles. I need to like start doing cardio, because I noticed that my legs, I have a standing desk. I noticed that I'm getting like really tired standing around a lot. So I need to start working my leg muscles. Thanks for watching, and thanks for sharing and subscribing. As always, keep reefing, guys, and have a good week. See you until next time.